It was late October in rural Kentucky, and the wind rattled the windows of the old farmhouse that Sarah had just rented. She had moved in after a messy divorce, looking for peace and a quiet place to write. The house was isolated, set back from the road, surrounded by miles of cornfields and dense woods. It creaked in ways that made her startle at every sound, but she welcomed the solitude. The first night, she unpacked and settled into the bedroom, the heater humming softly. Around midnight, she was jolted awake by the faint sound of crying. At first, she thought it was the wind, maybe an animal outside, but the sobs continued, soft and steady, unmistakably human. They sounded like a child. She crept to the window, peering into the darkness. The yard was empty. No swing, no toy, nothing. Shivering, she returned to bed, chalking it up to nerves. The crying stopped. Or so she thought. The next evening, as she unpacked boxes in the attic, she heard it again. A soft, persistent wail. Her heart thumped. "Hello?" she called, her voice shaking. The crying didn't answer, but it seemed closer. She followed it to the corner of the attic, near a small, dusty trunk. There was nothing inside except old clothes, but the sound seemed to emanate from behind the walls. Over the next few days, the crying returned nightly, always around 11:57 p.m. It was faint at first, but each night it grew louder, more desperate. Sarah started losing sleep, her nerves fraying. One night, she decided to trace the sound. It led her to a narrow hallway between the kitchen and the back porch. The wails seemed to come from inside the wall itself. Frantically, she pressed her ear against the plaster. The crying was clear now, almost pleading. "Please, help me," a tiny voice whispered. Sarah stumbled back. "Who's there? What do you want?" No answer, just the soft, heartbreaking sobs. She called the local sheriff the next day, explaining the situation. The deputy was polite but skeptical. "Old houses make noises," he said. "Maybe it's your imagination. Kids playing pranks?" He promised to check the house later, but Sarah noticed something odd. The crying never came during the day, only at night, always the same time. That night, Sarah stayed in the living room, clutching a blanket, waiting. Exactly at 11:57, the crying began. She followed it, trembling, to the back hallway. This time she saw movement. A small shadow flitted across the wall, quick and fleeting, like a child trying to hide. She gasped, and the shadow stopped. Then the crying changed. It was closer now, behind the door to the basement. Her skin crawled. She didn't want to open it, but curiosity overtook fear. The basement stairs were steep and narrow. She descended slowly, flashlight in hand. The crying had stopped. A heavy silence filled the air, thick and suffocating. At the foot of the stairs, she noticed a small, old wooden chair in the corner, and in it sat a doll, its dress dirty, hair matted, but its eyes seemed wet, like it had been crying for hours. Sarah froze. The crying resumed, louder, this time coming from the doll itself. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "What do you want?" Suddenly, a whisper answered, barely audible, "Come closer." Sarah stumbled back, but the doll rocked slightly, its little head turning toward her, tears glinting in the dim light. The basement door slammed above her, heart pounding. She grabbed the doll and ran upstairs, slamming the basement door behind her. She locked herself in her bedroom, holding it like a shield. The crying didn't stop. It echoed through the house, surrounding her, bouncing off walls. Every time she thought it was gone, it returned, more insistent. By morning, she was exhausted, her hair tangled, hands shaking. The doll sat on her bed, harmless looking in the daylight, but she could still hear it, faintly, crying, even when she held it outside. Sarah knew she couldn't stay. She packed in haste, leaving most of her belongings behind.
As she drove away, she glanced back. The farmhouse looked empty, silent, but a small figure appeared in the attic window. A tiny child, pale and soaked with tears, staring straight at her. The doll's voice whispered from the passenger seat, soft, urgent. "Don't forget me." Sarah never returned. The farmhouse remained empty for years, yet locals still whisper that if you drive past on a quiet October night, just before midnight, you can hear the soft cries of a child, begging for help. And sometimes, just sometimes, a doll sits in the window, rocking back and forth, eyes glistening with tears.